Welcome to Watch Cozy. Before we get started today, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to our channel. We put a lot of work into, finding interesting stuff and putting these discussions together for you. Okay, so today we're tackling something I think, well, pretty much everyone runs into. It's that feeling, right? You know you need to do something important, maybe something big, but you just keep putting it off. You find excuses, you do other things. It could be a huge project or, starting a healthier habit.
Yeah, that inertia.
Exactly. If that sounds familiar, then what we're exploring today is definitely for you.
Yeah.
We've been looking into some really fascinating material.
Yeah, some great studies, psychology insights, even how famous figures and pop performers handle this stuff.
Really eye-opening.
And our goal today is sort of peel back the layers on why our brains do this, why the resistance to hard tasks. We want to look at those mental roadblocks.
Right.
And then talk about some, proven psychological ways to get around them.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the interesting part. It's less about just brute willpower and more about understanding your own brain. How you can kind of trick it, maybe, into making hard things feel less awful. Maybe even, dare I say, enjoyable.
Enjoyable might be pushing it for some tasks.
Well, less dreadful, perhaps. We'll touch on things like limbic friction, what that actually is, and how people like, say, Darwin or David Goggins dealt with it.
Okay, intriguing. So this invisible wall that feels so common, what's actually happening? Let's start with that term you mentioned, limbic friction. And first off, if you procrastinate, you're definitely not alone. I saw some research from National University. Something like 88% of people admit they procrastinate regularly.
Wow, 88%. That's huge.
Right. And the crazy thing is most people don't really know why. They know it's important, but something just stops them. So it's good to know it's common, but it also tells you there's a real mechanism there.
Absolutely. And that mechanism, that hidden barrier, is what some psychologists call limbic friction. You might also hear it called Beck's strength sometimes. But here's the key thing, the really freeing idea. It's likely not a personal failing. It's not laziness.
It's more like your ancient brain trying to protect you from things it sees as difficult or potentially painful. Think of it as this internal resistance that pops up, especially for challenging long-term goals.
So it's a feature, not a bug.
Sort of.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
If you dig into the science a bit, the limbic system, it's a really old part of our brain. It handles emotions, motivation, survival stuff.
Right, the primal brain.
Exactly. Its main job is to keep us safe, comfortable, steer us towards ease and away from threats. So when you think about a really tough task, something needing a lot of effort, maybe you could fail. Your limbic system flags that as a potential threat. It starts pumping out stress, anxiety signals, basically saying, whoa, hold on, this looks hard. Let's maybe stick with something easier.
Yeah.
It perceives the effort or risk as pain.
Okay, that reframes it completely. It makes total sense viewed like that. And it's not just like starting a company or writing a book.
No, not at all.
It could be trying to break habits, right? Like drinking, smoking, maybe even issues with pornography use or tackling weight loss or even complex stuff like fixing relationships.
Anything that feels like a mountain,
Yeah,
basically.
there's that saying, a big stone is a sign of not throwing it. Just thinking about the massive task makes you avoid starting because your brain sees the big stone and goes, danger, avoid.
Precisely.
And here's something I found really fascinating and honestly kind of comforting. Even the most brilliant people struggled with this.
Oh, absolutely. Take Charles Darwin. Genius, right? Super motivated, curious.
Yeah.
Yet he wrestled with getting started on and continuing his work on the theory of evolution for, get this, roughly 22 years.
22 years. Wow.
Yeah, 2 decades of this internal battle. He doubted himself. He found reasons to delay things. He even wrote to a friend about how he struggled every single day just to sit down and work on this thing he knew was critically important.
That's incredible. It really shows how powerful this friction can be. It's not just a little hurdle.
It can be a mountain for anyone, yeah. It's a very human thing.
Yeah.
So if this is how we're wired, what do we do? This leads us to another piece of the puzzle. Dopamine.
Ah, the pleasure chemical.
Exactly. When we put off the hard work, our brain learns super quickly that it can get an immediate dopamine hit from easier stuff.
Like scrolling social media.
Yep, or watching TV, checking notifications, instant gratification. And over time, some research suggests this actually kind of poisons your dopamine system.
Poisons it. How so?
Well, you're essentially training your brain to prefer those quick, easy rewards. You're rewiring it away from the satisfaction of, sustained effort.
Uh-huh.
It makes it harder and harder to choose the challenging task that offers a delayed, maybe bigger reward later on. It becomes this cycle.
Okay, that's a bit scary, actually.
Mm.
So if our brains are chasing that easy dopamine, how do we fight back? How do we retrain it?
Well, one really effective strategy is using what are called microactions. Yeah, the idea is simple, almost deceptively so. Instead of looking at the whole huge project that feels overwhelming,
Right.
you break it down into the smallest possible first step, something really easy. And you just make that tiny step part of your routine. It's not about finishing, it's just about starting.
Okay, like just opening the document
Ah,
or putting on running shoe?
exactly like that. Let's look at Darwin again. When he finally got going on evolution, his routine involved just writing a few pages of notes each day.
Just a few pages.
Just a few. Not necessarily perfect, finished writing, just small, consistent actions. The power here is that these little steps gently prepare your brain.
Ah.
Doing them repeatedly starts building stronger neural pathways for that activity.
Ah.
It lowers the mental resistance over time and makes it easier to focus when you do tackle more. It's like telling your limbic system, see, not so bad.
And psychologically, there's something powerful about feeling in control, isn't there? Even if it's control over something tiny.
Absolutely. Humans thrive on feeling competent, feeling like they've mastered something. A micro action gives you that immediate win, that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
It builds momentum. That's why habit advice always says, start ridiculously small. So small you almost can't fail. That success calms the anxiety. Now, micro actions help you start, but there's another big blocker. Perfectionism.
Oh, yeah. It has to be perfect or why bother mindset.
Exactly. When we demand the absolute best result right from the beginning, we put enormous pressure on ourselves.
Uh-huh.
And often the brain just shuts down. It abandons the task altogether because the fear of not achieving that perfect ideal is just too much. It feels safer not to start than to risk imperfection.
So what's the fix for that?
The fix is shifting your focus. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for gradual growth. Aim for learning.
Okay.
Embrace the idea of starting imperfectly. This isn't about producing shoddy work. It's about giving yourself permission to begin, to iterate, to improve as you go. Over time, this really can lessen that obsession with being perfect right out of the gate.
Learn as you go, basically.
Precisely. Think about Ernest Hemingway.
The writer.
Yeah. He apparently had a routine of writing just a short piece every morning. He knew his first draft wouldn't be perfect. He believed the real work happened in the editing, the revision.
Right.
He embraced that imperfect start, knowing he'd refine it later.
Right.
He quieted that inner critic demanding perfection up front,
Yeah.
and that's what allowed him to actually get the words down.
Okay, so we have these internal strategies, macro actions, letting go of perfectionism. What about structuring our day, our tasks, to sort of engineer success against procrastination?
Ah, now you're talking about systems. And there's a really practical, well-tested method for this, the Eisenhower Matrix.
The Eisenhower Matrix sounds presidential.
It is. It comes from Dwight D. Eisenhower. Before he was president, he was a 5-star general, managing incredibly complex situations.
Right. Makes sense he'd need a system.
Definitely.
But
He developed this way to prioritize tasks based on 2 simple factors, urgency and importance.
okay, urgency and importance. How does it break down?
It creates 4 categories, a 2x2 grid. 1, important and urgent. These are crises, deadlines looming right now, things you must do immediately,
Got it. Firefighting mode.
pretty much. 2, important but not urgent. These are the really crucial ones for long-term success. Strategy, planning, learning new skills, building relationships, preventative maintenance.
The stuff that moves the needle long term.
Exactly. 3, not important but urgent. These scream for attention but don't actually matter much for your goals. Lots of interruptions, some emails, maybe pointless meetings fall here.
The busy work that feels urgent.
Precisely. And 4, not important and not urgent. This is the time-wasting stuff. Mindless scrolling, trivial tasks, procrastination activities.
Okay, so 4 boxes. What's the goal with this?
The core idea is to spend most of your time and energy on category 2, the important but not urgent tasks. By doing that, you prevent them from becoming category 1 crises.
Proactive versus reactive.
Exactly. Procrastination often happens because we let those important category 2 things slide until suddenly they are urgent, and then we're stressed and scrambling in category 1.
That makes so much sense. You avoid the fire by dealing with the smoke detector battery earlier.
Perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And research, or at least some sources suggest, indicates that maybe up to 98% of people fall into the trap of letting category 2 slide until it becomes category 1.
Wow, 98%. That's almost everyone.
It highlights why a conscious system like this is so vital. It stops you from just reacting to what feels urgent.
And I guess this is where the limbic system gets tricky again, right? It probably loves category 3 and 4.
Oh, absolutely. Those often offer quick, easy dopamine hits or feel less threatening.
Yeah.
So your brain tricks you into focusing there. You feel busy checking emails or doing small, unimportant tasks.
Right, you feel productive.
But at the end of the day, the important stuff, categories 1 and especially 2, didn't get done. Your brain essentially sold you on the urgency or ease of the unimportant things.
So the Matrix forces you to confront that illusion.
It does. By consciously categorizing, you stop your brain from automatically prioritizing the easy or the noisy over the truly valuable. You become deliberate about where your energy goes. Now, beyond just organizing tasks, there's another layer, another really potent strategy: finding deeper meaning.
Meaning in the task itself.
Yes. The brain is much more willing to tackle difficult things, to persist through challenges when it sees a real purpose behind them. When a task connects to your personal dreams, your values, your bigger goal.
Your why.
The why, exactly.
Yeah.
That internal motivation goes way up.
So how do you cultivate that? It sounds good, but how do you apply it?
It's about consciously making the connection. Take a task, even a small or tedious one, and ask yourself, how does this connect to my bigger goals? How does this serve something I truly care about?
Okay.
And then link it, even if it's a few steps removed. Then break that larger goal down into the manageable steps, the micro actions we talked about. You build a bridge from the small action to the big meaning.
Linking the mundane to the meaningful.
Precisely.
Davy Goggins. The ultra-endurance guy.
Yeah. He has this intense method. When facing something tough, he'd mentally multiply its importance by 100. He'd ask, if I look back, how crucial was doing this, magnified 100 times.
Whoa.
If it still felt vital when amplified like that, he knew it was truly important to his ultimate mission. That mindset, that connection to massive purpose, helped him push through unbelievable barriers, transforming himself, setting records.
Guinness records even, right?
Yeah, including Guinness records.
Yeah.
He went from around 150 kilograms to this elite athlete
Yeah.
because the why was so incredibly strong in his mind.
That's powerful stuff. So you find the meaning.
Yeah.
What else keeps the engine running, especially for those really long-haul goals?
Visualization.
Yeah.
Visualizing both the process and the end result.
Like athletes do.
Exactly like athletes do. Think Michael Phelps, another Guinness record holder in swimming. He was famous for visualization. He'd mentally rehearsed everything. The race, the strokes, the turns, the feeling of touching the wall first. This isn't just daydreaming. It actually prepares your brain. It helps you anticipate the mental resistance, the tough spots, so you're ready for them. And it strengthens the neural pathways needed to actually perform the actions. You're basically running a mental simulation.
Pre-paving the road for success.
That's a great way to put it. You make the actual execution feel more familiar, less intimidating.
It's really interesting how all these ideas connect. Goggins magnifying the importance, the concept of, 21-day habit formation. It all points towards consistency, doesn't it? Small steps, repeated over time, fueled by meaning and visualization.
That's the core of it. It's not usually about some massive, sudden transformation. It's about gradual, intentional adjustments, building momentum bit by bit, reshaping your mental landscape slowly but surely.
Okay, so let's quickly wrap up the key things we've explored today. We looked at that limbic friction, the brain's natural resistance,
The invisible wall.
and how the dopamine trap makes us crave easy wins, reinforcing procrastination.
Right, training the brain the wrong way.
Then we talked solutions, breaking things into tiny micro actions to just get started.
Making it less scary.
And tackling perfectionism by focusing on growth, not flawless first tries.
Larding imperfectly.
We also covered the Eisenhower Matrix as a smart way to prioritize what truly matters.
Urgent versus important. Crucial distinction.
And finally, the huge impact of finding that deeper meaning or purpose and using visualization to stay motivated.
Yeah, connecting to the why and mentally rehearsing success. And what this all really shows is, our brains have these built-in tendencies often aimed at keeping us comfy, but we're not stuck with them.
Right.
We can understand how they work and then use these kinds of strategies, almost like gentle tricks, to work with our nature, not just constantly fight against it. It's strategic self-management, really.
Less brute force, more clever navigation.
Exactly.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? Maybe just pick one thing, one idea from today. Could you identify one tiny microaction for that task you keep avoiding? Something you could genuinely do for just, say, 5 minutes tomorrow.
Or maybe try assigning a deeper meaning. Connect that task you dread to a bigger dream you have. Just try seeing it differently.
Just one small shift to start.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. What's that big stone you've been hesitant to pick up? That important thing you've been delaying? And just consider, how might one tiny, imperfect first step, just starting, or finding a new angle on why it matters to you, how might that change everything?
Some powerful ideas to consider. Thank you for joining us as we explored how to work with our brains on hard tasks. We look forward to digging into more knowledge with you next time.